Well, welcome to Deeply Rooted Botanical Medicine with Stephanie Georgieff and our weekly feature this week in Botanical Medicine is just ahead. I do want to remind everyone in this lovely month of June, I'm offering a mini course on skin, everything you want to know about skin. It's the mini course of the larger course, and you'll learn all about the different ways to diagnose skin conditions from Ayurvedic perspective, a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, anthroposophical medicine. It's really a comprehensive look. I've been seeing a lot of ads for this book that basically says, well, I've just got a cookbook and you can just look certain things up and try these herbs and look there. And I can tell you, there's a little more to botanical medicine than looking things up in a cookbook. And what my course does is it really helps you figure out the root cause, pun intended, and then the different plants to apply. So for this week in botanical medicine, as always, there's all kinds of stuff going on. The final week of May 2026 has brought a lot of developments across clinical research, public health studies, and international regulatory shifts in the botanical medicine landscape. And what's really interesting is that there are all kinds of efforts that are trying to balance promising multi-plant synergy research with safety warnings and strict new quality standards, at least in Europe. Now, what's interesting about this research collaborative study that was released on May 28th, and these are all kinds of research universities that are basically in Asia. This is when the Andala University, Jambi University, and Malang State University. And you learn a lot about this kind of herbal medicine, particularly in Chinese medicine. I don't know enough about formulations in Ayurvedic, but I do know in Chinese medicine, and they're always, they rarely use in Chinese medicine single herbs. It's always a combination. And in fact, some herbs, when they're used by themselves, are actually toxic, but in the formula, they're not. So this is really interesting that these researchers are want to look at multi-plant synergy for metabolic disorders. And basically what happened was the researchers were investigating a combined extract of 3 traditional botanic resources, basically cinnamon, ground cherry, and a dayak onion. Now, I don't know, I know the first 2, but the other one I don't know. I'm sure that's a wonderful option in Asia. And what the findings were is that these herbs are frequently studied in isolation. What sets this apart in terms of research is the research is focusing on co-occurring metabolic disorders, specifically diabetes and hypertension. And they were looking at how the combined substances such as polyphenols, flavonoids, and organosulfur compounds acted on separate therapeutic pathways simultaneously. And what they found was the combination normalized both blood glucose and blood pressure significantly faster than single herb applications, while showing a protective effect on the pancreas and the kidney tissues against chronic oxidative stress. And those are the two targets of, I can tell you specifically, of diabetes. It's very hard on both the kidneys and the pancreas. So it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for supplement companies to start marketing this and what kind of claims they can make without getting everybody's panties in a wad. Now, there is an interesting study published in the Journal of Hazardous Materials, and this is by the Indian Institute of Technology in Gandhinagar. It's ITGN, and the University of Illinois. So this is a wonderful Indian-American collaboration. And they're issuing a firm safety warning regarding commercial herbal smoking market. Now, I don't know about you all, but before there were things like vaping, a lot of times they would smoke clove cigarettes. People would smoke clove cigarettes. I always love this smell because I detest cigarettes. I detest that. But the clove tasted really good, or smelled really good. I never smoked them. I only smelled them. Globally, cigarettes are starting to contain combination of basil, clove, cinnamon, chamomile, and green tea. And these are heavily marketed as tobacco-free, natural, and therapeutic alternatives for respiratory health and smoking cessation. And basically what the study did was it utilized automated 2-chamber testing rigs to isolate emissions. I think that would have looked really interesting. And researchers compared mainstream smoke from popular herbal brands against conventional tobacco. And the study concluded that the combustion of these medicinal plants produces particulate matter and oxidative emissions that are comparable or even more damaging than tobacco smoke. So the tobacco people will be really happy about this. But the physical and chemical breakdown, you burn something and you inhale smoke, you're going to get particulate matter. So it says that, when you're burning plants, it eliminates their therapeutic value and may even be worse to lung tissues. So the word natural, if you've ever been in a fire, when a pine forest is burning, your lungs hurt very bad. So I think that's an interesting study. Now, the European Medicines Agency, my personal favorite bureaucracy, because they're so wonderful with botanical medicine. So anyways, the European Medicines Agency entered the final month of public commentary for its strict second revision of the guidelines on the declaration of active substances in herbal drugs. And I've been following this for a while, so it's very interesting. And they're basically saying for practitioners and manufacturers utilizing herbal medicine products and traditional herbal medicine products within Europe, the agency is trying to standardize how plant extracts are quantified. And this is really interesting. I'm fascinated to see how they actually do this, because this whole standardization business is the reason why pharmaceuticals changed from botanicals to synthesized medicines, specifically from petroleum products, because botanicals change every year. And it's sort of like the wine factor. This was a good year, that was a bad year. And it's anyone's guess how climate change, particularly this upcoming summer, which is supposed to be a scorcher all over the globe, how that's going to affect active constituents in plants. So this is interesting. And what they're trying to do is get labeling requirements where it's called genuine drug to extract ratio. And the lingo for this is the D as in dog, E as in egg, R as in Richard, the DER genuine. And this will need to be labeled alongside the precise starting mass of the raw herbal drugs. So you get, let's say you have 2 grams of basil, then what is left over and what's active. And what they're trying to do with this is eliminate vague labeling practices. They want standardized extraction solvent declarations, and they also are going to treat complex botanical formulas with the same transparency and dosage precision as isolated pharmaceutical compounds. So I am really curious how this is going to manifest itself. And if you want to comment on this, the window closes on June 30th of this year. So the overriding theme in the botanical world right now is structural precision. Whether it is understanding the distinct cellular pathways of combined plant extracts or enforcing rigid labeling laws on extract ratios. So it's going to be interesting because a lot of botanical medicines and natural practices are really becoming quite the topic and of conversation and the target of regulatory procedures. And in some instances, they're basically outlawing them, and everybody has to figure out different ways to label sort of things. But this DER genuine apparently is really important in terms of dosage. And these are issues when it comes to synthetic pharmaceuticals, because you have to get a specific dose, and you want to know how much active constituent, like how many milligrams of an antibiotic you're taking, or milliliters of something you're injecting. And they're trying to apply these types of standardization procedures to natural elements. So we'll see what happens. And if I can get a peek in these public comments, that'll be rather interesting. So this is Stephanie Georgieff saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes. And until our next episode, be well.